Hello, welcome back. This is Mike Keeler with Mr. Patrick Duffy behind the camera on Channel 20 Central City, and we wanted to give you a little peek of the foliage here this time of year, and as you can see, it's all changing and it's beautiful. Anyway, we're going to take you on a walking tour of the Thomas House today. Now, the Thomas House is exactly what the sign says. It was frozen in time when they left that house. We're going to have Mr. Dave Forsyth join us again today so he can give you a little bit more of a detail on each room as we go through it. So please stay with us today. If you have any questions, please, you can email Patrick here at P as in Paul Duffy, D-U-F-F-Y, at City of Central. You can email him, and maybe you have a question about someplace else you'd like us to try to go into and film for you. I know I've had several people approach me and ask me about like the Belvedere, but the Belvedere is in pretty bad shape right now, and they're reworking on the ceiling. We may be able to get in there, but we can't go too far. We can show you a little bit. The lighting's not good. I don't even believe there's any electricity in there at this time, but we'll do what we can to get you into every building we can. So please, if you have questions or you'd like us to come and tour your place, let us know. Well, here we are. We're at the Thomas House right now, and this is the most beautiful historic little house around town, and it is one of our museums. Now, a lot of people don't understand that Central City has 5 museums here, and we're going to try to get you into all of those as we travel from place to place. Right now, we want to kind of show you a little bit more about the Thomas House and give you another walking tour. And with us today, we have Mr. David Forsyth. He was with us at the Teller House, and he's great to have because he knows a lot about the Gilpin County history. Mr. David Forsyth. Welcome, David. Now, when was this house actually built?
It was built in 1867 by a man named Archibald Van Daren, who owned several stores in town, and also once loaned money to Abraham Lincoln.
Holy
so
nuts.
That's his big claim to fame.
Do you ever get paid back?
I don't know. Can't figure that one out.
Well, we were talking about the balcony up there.
The balcony is not original to the house. It was added in 1869 by a later owner, and then the wing where the kitchen was added in 1885 by yet another owner.
Huh. Now, across the street, isn't that the old carriage house, or supposedly?
Yeah, the brown building is the old garage or carriage house for the Thomas House, and they did actually have a bedroom up on the 2nd floor where they would have children stay when they came to visit the family.
They didn't like them running around through the house?
I guess not.
Well, we're going to take you on a tour through all this, and it is exactly what it says. It's a house frozen in time. They left everything here, and Mr. Forsyth is going to take you through there and show you some of the old antique things that were left in this house. So we'll go on inside and take you around at this point in time. Okay, we're inside the Thomas House kitchen right now, and as you can see, everything is still the same when they left it. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Forsyth and let him tell you a little bit more about the things in the kitchen and why they left this place like that.
As I said, outside the kitchen was added in 1885, and when you're in here on a tour, you can even see the siding from the old exterior wall. The stove and a lot of the other things that are in here did belong to the Thomases. The stove is kind of unique because it doesn't have legs on it. Marcia Thomas was barely 5 feet tall, and so the story is that she had them take the legs off the stove so that the height was a little bit more comfortable for her. It was a wood-burning stove originally, but the family later converted it to gas. Sitting down on the floor there is the old clothes washing machine, and we have a letter from Marcia where she says how much she loved that thing because somehow it attached to the stove, and the heat from the stove would run it. So she would get up in the morning when Ben would go to work, start a load of laundry, and then go back to bed. And she could hear it when it turned off. And so that was when she actually had to get up out of bed and start doing stuff. But all of the dishes that are in the china cabinet over here belong to them. The cupboards through the kitchen are filled with pots and pans that belong to the family. You know, just everything in here was theirs. The reason they left the house like this was they moved out in 1917. They had moved in 1895. And by 1917, Central City's economy was really in a nosedive. Mining was dying out, businesses were failing, so people were just leaving the town in droves. And the Thomases moved down to Denver, where Marcia's family was from. They were a very wealthy family with a woodworking business down there. And they moved into the family home, which is about where Coors Field is now. And they put this place up for sale. Problem is, with the economy the way it was, nobody could afford to buy it, nobody was interested in buying it. So after about a year of trying to sell it, they just decided they would use it as a summer house and a weekend house. And that's what they did until 1944. Ben and Marcia Thomas both died that year. And then Marcia's sister inherited the house, and her daughter ended up keeping it because she was a major opera supporter, and she liked to come to the Central City Opera productions in the summer, and the house gave them a good place to stay and have parties and all that kind of stuff.
Interesting, interesting. It does have a lot of the old antique stuff in here. I was looking at the lights, so it really looked like old gas lights, that converted, of course, but Patrick, our cameraman, he's leaning on the old fridge. And I know you can't see it right now, but it's wood, right? Isn't that what that is?
Yeah, it's the old ice box. And in the old pie chest over there, where they would keep canned stuff and baked stuff. One thing you'll also see throughout the house are calendars. And it came from the Sauer McShane Mercantile here in Central City. Ben Thomas was the vice president of that. And when you take a tour though, you'll notice none of the pages are torn off of the
I
calendar.
see that. There's one right there, 1901.
Yeah. Marcia was an artist, and a lot of her artwork is in the house as well. She liked things colorful and cheerful, and so she used the calendars as artwork, not as calendars. And that's one of the most unique things about the house, is this collection of calendars that the pages have never been torn off of. We've actually had college classes and professors come out just to study the calendars.
Wow.
Because we don't find them intact like this.
That is pretty cool. Maybe we can show a calendar for every room that we go into, Patrick, and give them an idea of what they look like. The one I'm looking at right now is very, very nice, but clearly it does date 1901 on it. So anyway, we'll let you take another quick look at the kitchen here and see how lucky you have it today, when you can just turn on your electricity and go for it. Wood burning stove right here, and look how short that is. And it looks like she's got her pans for her biscuits on the stove right now, as a matter of fact. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take you through the next room. What room would be next there, David?
The dining room.
The dining room. We're going into the dining room right now. We'll give you a peek at that. Well, here we are in the dining room right now, and there's so many beautiful pictures around here. As you can see, the table is set. And before I let Dave go on and tell you the story about the dining room, you know what? I heard that a lot of people used to have a mine connected to their house. Is that the same here too?
That's one of the biggest debates about this house, is whether or not there is actually a mine through that door. There is a mining claim on the property, but some people insist that the opening is on the other side of the hill, while other people insist that it's behind the wall in the storeroom here. I've actually seen people that I thought were going to get into fistfights over that debate.
Oh, wow.
So that is one of the mysteries of the property.
I mean, it'd be kind of different. You come home, have dinner, and then crawl back in a hole, right?
That would certainly be unusual.
Which if I, is it just a hole in the wall there then, or what is it?
Well, there's actually a cement wall back there.
So they sealed it up.
Someone had sometimes sealed it up. We don't know who. There are some of us who've wanted to drill a little hole and put a camera in there and see what we actually see, but so far we haven't done it.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about the dining room here.
Dining room, this is probably where the kitchen was when the house was first built, and then they just turned it into the dining room when they moved the kitchen over to the next room. During the Victorian era, you never ate in the kitchen like people do now. That was for servants. And in Central City, if you got rich enough to have servants, you moved to Denver. So they always ate in the dining room. It was always kept ready. One thing you notice as you go through the Thomas house is so much stuff sitting out everywhere, and that was a very Victorian thing. It was meant to show a family's wealth and prominence. The more stuff you had out, the wealthier and better off you were. So you see a lot of stuff sitting out everywhere through the house. The door into the dining room was the less formal entry into the house, so if it was just family or friends dropping by, they would come in this way rather than using the front door, which was meant for company.
And we'll see that in a little bit when we go into another room. Now, one thing you mentioned was family and stuff like that. Are there still living family members and stuff like that?
There are a couple of great nieces still alive. They're in their 80s and 90s. One is in California and one is in Boston.
Well, have they ever been out to visit the house?
Yes, the last time that the one from California was out here was about 2005 or 2006.
Wow. And they donated this place, right, to the Historical Society?
Actually, we bought it.
Oh, okay.
They sold it to a couple in town who ran it as a house museum, and then the Historical Society bought it from them. But the family has donated quite a bit of stuff. There's a chest upstairs you'll see they've donated some of Marcia's diaries, her autograph books.
Oh, wow. Now, some of the stuff, here's the old wood-burning stove right here. Some of the stuff laying around here, I'm sure came when they left the house, like apparently this right here.
Yeah.
What is this right here?
It's just a warming dish for food.
Oh, okay, okay.
Again, all the dishes, the pots, the pans, the tables, the pictures, it's all their stuff.
They do have some beautiful clocks in here, and there's also some art on the wall that Patrick's gonna film for you as Dave runs it, so you can get an idea of the entertainment that they had back then. So we're gonna go ahead and move over to that last piece of art and then go on into the next room. All right, we're back, and this is the beautiful piece of art. Now, this was the entertainment back then. I'm gonna let David show you a little bit about this and actually make it work for you. So go ahead, David.
As I mentioned earlier, the niece that ended up keeping the house after Ben and Marcia died was a major opera supporter, and she got to be good friends with a lot of opera people, including Pancho Gates, who lived here in town and did a lot of set designs for the opera. And so they ended up with a lot of pieces connected to the opera. This is a set design for the Ballad of Baby Doe opera, which had its world premiere at the Opera House in 1956. And this is the coolest set design piece they have, because when you turn the crank, all of the pieces inside move.
I hope you can see that as well as we can, but every piece in there is actually moving. Yeah, that's great. How old do you think that is?
Probably 1954, 1955.
Wow. On the top of the stage, you can see the American flags on the curtains up there, and I mean, pretty detailed. Okay, we'll take you on to the next room and explain a little bit about what's going on in there. Okay, we are in the parlor, right? Correct?
The back parlor.
Back part of the house, and this was kind of the entertainment room. And we'll show you at the end of this tape that the front door is to my left. The organ is right here in front of us, and also all around the house she had mannequins, and she left her dresses on those also. And you'll see some of those as we go through here. On my right is a little photo. What is that?
Stereo view.
Stereo view is what it's called. And there's the old photos still here on the table that they would look at for entertainment. And then behind me, I'm going to let David tell you a little bit about that, but I know that was Thomas's office, correct?
Yeah.
Where he worked. So I'll let David tell you more about the room.
Okay. Yeah, this is Ben's office over here. So all the family paperwork and things like that are in there. There's a bust on either side of the window in there. Those are Marcia. One is younger, one is older. There's also a photograph over here of a guy who was just killed in Buffalo. That's actually the statue that's on the grounds of the state capitol in Denver. Marcia was friends with the artist. She loved the statue, and so he had that photograph made for her just as a souvenir. The yellow chair over there was Ben's chair. It's actually a barber's chair, but he thought it was the most comfortable chair he had ever sat in, so he bought one for the house. Again, just awards, paperwork, things like that that the family collected. The wallpaper in here has a very Indian theme to it, and that's kind of on purpose. The Billings family, which was Marcia's family, was very good friends with the Wetherell family, and that's who discovered the Mesa Verde ruins. And so they were very interested in Indian culture. The story is that Marcia and her sister were the first two white women to see the ruins after they were discovered. They lowered them down the cliff on a rope, and they were able to see them.
Oh, wow. That chair looks really, really comfortable. You want to go sit in it, but no, can't do that. We're gonna show you up close shots so you get a better idea of what we're talking about here. Patrick will do some more pictures for you, and then we're gonna move on into what next room?
Front parlor.
The front parlor will be next. We're gonna show you a little bit more in the parlor here, like I promised. Starting with the beautiful dress of Martha's. That's the one of the ones that she had left here. And then next to her is the family organ where they would sit and play and entertain themselves at night. But up here on the wall is actually Martha wearing that dress right there. So just to show that is her dress, that is really neat that they got a picture of her in that. In that. But also then you get an idea of what this wallpaper looks like too in here, the Indian theme. Well, now we're back in the front dining room, and as you can see, how big are these rooms anyway?
They're not big. They're a lot smaller than you'd expect today. This is probably about 10 by 10, maybe a little bigger.
Wow, and it's still set up like it was then. And behind David is a portrait, a painted portrait that Margaret painted?
Marcia did this.
Marcia?
This is the largest one of her paintings that we still have, and she did this in 1892, 2 years before she and Ben got married. She really was an amazing artist. There are stories that she even went to Paris to study art, but we can't prove that. But she really was incredible.
What are all these?
Those are cherubs. One down here, obviously, whispering in the sleeping woman's ear. One story that somehow got made up about this thing was that it was Marcia's psychic vision that she was going to have a number of miscarriages during her marriage. That obviously isn't true, but Ben and Marcia never did have children of their own. And this is another one of her dresses here, and you can see how small her waist is. She did the very common Victorian practice of corseting.
She was very small.
She was very small, and then she made herself even smaller. And that is one of the theories as to why she maybe never had children, was from the corseting. It did a lot of bad things to people's insides there.
Then you got some old fans sitting here on the table. And to my left, there's an umbrella. I'm afraid to almost touch it. This is an old umbrella, one of hers. If you can get a good look at that, Patrick. But it's got a lot of detail, and it's so old I would never even dare thinking about opening it up. It's so old, but it's beautiful. Everything in here is beautiful. What are these tables that are in here? Where did they get those from, in the chairs? Do you know?
Don't know for certain, but a lot of things came from the Sour McShane store. We had a lot of furniture and knick-knack stores in Central City back in the 1800s, early 1900s. And they could have also had it shipped up from Denver.
Oh, okay. Okay, and all the lights are still, they're all electric of course now, but they were, it was gas lighting back then, so. And I think the wallpaper's all the same, correct?
Yeah, all the wallpaper in the house is from the Thomases. It's not original to the house, since the house was here for 25 years before they moved in, but it is original to them. And the wallpaper in this room is much more fitting for a Victorian house as opposed to the Indian theme that was in the back parlor.
You know, as old as it is, you would think it wouldn't be so quiet, but it is really, really quiet in here, actually. Maybe it's because all the rooms were so small, but it is an absolutely beautiful room, and this is called the front parlor. And we're gonna take you to what's room next, David?
We'll show you the front door and then take you upstairs.
All right, so we'll see you in a minute. Okay, here we are in the hallway, the front door, and this, of course, like David said, that this is where all their friends and people that would come to be entertained by them would come through here, not the doors that we originally entered at. But anyway, this is the small hallway. Now I'm 6'2", and this is really small, standing in this. To my left right here is the stairway that goes straight up. It's an angle that's pretty steep. That will take you up and show you the bedrooms. And on my right here is where she would keep her stuff for the opera. Now, in this little holder right here, I'm gonna pull one out, is an old opera fan, and she has several of these here. And they're very, very nice and detail oriented, and it looks like they were just sitting right here so she could grab them when she left. So that's everything's still here in its place. That's what makes this place so special. And we'll go ahead and, Dave, is there anything else I left out in here?
I guess the one thing I will say about the front door, it's not the original front door of the house. Marcia's family installed this when they bought the house. This was made by her father's woodworking company in Denver, and it actually won the award for the best panel door in Colorado in 1872.
Wow. Wow.
And we have the certificate for it and a picture of the factory where it was made.
I was just gonna say, is that, who are all those? All those people that were working on it and stuff?
Those are all the guys that worked at the woodworking factory in Denver. And the certificate that we have is actually hanging above them in that picture.
Oh, wow, okay. That is interesting. And right here is the certificate, so you might want to get a shot of that, Patrick, before we go on upstairs. But
And they were partners with David Moffat in the business.
oh, okay. And if nobody's familiar with David Moffat, then you are familiar with the Moffat Tunnel. So that gives you an idea. Anyway, we're going to go on upstairs and show you a little bit around there. Here's the certificate for the best panel door in Colorado, right here, believe it or not. And then just up above it are the gentlemen that worked in that woodworking shop. And over here is this certificate that they awarded. Right now, we just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of how narrow these steps are to come up here. And along the walls, as we come up, you can see some pictures. Here's a picture of the house. We don't know exactly the year that was taken, but it still looks the same to me.
Yeah.
So, and then also there's a couple pictures up here that she did. And then behind me, I'll let David tell you about this picture right here.
This is a pencil drawing that she did in 1892. When you see this thing in person, it looks like a print, but it's actually just a pencil drawing that she did.
That's pretty detailed.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
And then the lights above, those were oil lamps at one time. They still the same ones in there, actually.
Yeah, converted to electric.
Yeah, converted to electric. So this everything is so original. It's very interesting to look around the house, just like the wallpaper. This is that Indian design too, isn't it? Or
Yeah, it's a little bit different from in the parlor, but it still has that Indian theme to it, and it is what Marcia had in here. She just wanted things bright and colorful.
which I think is pretty neat.
Yeah.
From the curtains to everything. So we're going to go ahead and take you into the first bedroom and give you an idea what that looks like. Right now we're in the bathroom upstairs, and I'm looking around at some of this stuff, and I might move a little fast, but I want to show you a couple of things real quick. Here's Ben's nightshirt right here, if you can see it, and it's pretty old. And then also right next to that, I believe this was the hat she would wear to bed at night. Keep her hair in place. And there's a couple of other things, but that just gives you an idea of where we're at and what we're doing. Here's a cabinet with his razors on them and different soaps, like this medical type soap right here, as you can see it. We're going to show you things that you don't normally see in some of this stuff. And that's what we're here to do, is to give you more of an idea of the older things that are around the house. Like the old straight razor, which is here, and it looks like a trimmer. This used to be a trimmer right here for mustaches, kind of like mine probably. And then the shaving kit, which is here with the brush. And then down here on my left, is that castor oil I see right there?
There's castor oil, chest oil, all kinds of oils.
Yes, there's all kinds of oils here. And then there's even, oh my gosh, here's an old Phillips tablets container right here. Phillips Nut Magnesia. Wow. And then on my left, where Dave's standing, he's gonna kind of give you an idea of what that is. Yeah, they're pictures, but everything up there tells a story. So Dave, go ahead.
This is probably my favorite thing in the bathroom is their little collection of pictures and statues of kids on chamber pots. Kind of fitting for a bathroom. But the neatest one, I think, is this one right here. The girl is constipated, and on the front she's crying and says she needs a Cascarette, which was an old laxative. This one doesn't work anymore, but I have seen others that still do. When you turned it over, she's now happy because she's had it, and sand is supposed to fall out into the chamber pot through this little window here.
That is unbelievable. And what about the three little statues in the middle there?
Just kids on chamber pots. Here's another kid that's unhappy and then happy. Just chamber pot things that they collected over the years.
See, things you always wanted to know and you get to know today. I know this is a little updated in here with the bathtub and the toilet, but when did they convert this? Because I can still see the outhouse at back. If I remember right, there was a walkway right out to the outhouse?
The outhouse is back here. That's not the original, it's a replica. It was a two-seater outhouse, and they did actually have a bridge that would go out this window. So in the middle of the night, they wouldn't have to go downstairs and climb up the hill. They could just go out here. There was a railing on one side of it, so I'm assuming it was up to code and everything. The bathroom was added in 1934. The bathtub, the story says, is the bathtub that they had down in the kitchen where they would take baths originally. One of Marcia's nieces did paint the yellow flowers that are on the side of it. But in 1934, they finally made the move to indoor plumbing in the house and put in the bathroom.
Wow. So, I see a couple of other pictures up here. I don't know if you know what those are or not.
Again, they're just old advertisements that Ben would bring home from the Sour McShane store when they weren't using them anymore. This was actually an ad for Fairy soap, and so it says, have you a little fairy in your home, because Fairy was brand soap.
It's got a little one in the bathtub there. It seems like almost every room like we go into, they've got a clock in it too.
Yeah, this is actually an old clock that quit working, and so they just turned it into a medicine cabinet.
Oh, interesting. And then right below that, what is that, the candle holders or glass holders there?
Yeah, glass holders so you brush your teeth and rinse your mouth out. Here we have a little can of tooth powder to brush with. Then here's a bigger can. You have talcum powder, again, all kinds of different soaps.
Maybe I'm just letting you know how old I am, but I remember that tooth powder over there, so. Also right here, there's something you'll probably never see. It's an old Band-Aid can right here. Gives you an idea how the Band-Aids were packaged. Actually, they were packaged better. Weren't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna move on into one of the bedrooms now. And which one is that one first?
We'll do the back bedroom.
Back bedroom first and show you around in there. And Marcia's room, didn't she have a lot of clothes laid out there when they left too? Or?
Yeah, you'll see some of those in the master bedroom.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna go on to the back bedroom first.
Yep.
Right now we're in one of the back bedrooms, and I was just talking to Dave and I said, there's a lot of children's things in here. It's all set up for kids. And I'll let him kind of explain that too, even though they didn't have any kids, and we had talked about that earlier. But go ahead, Dave. What did?
They did have their two great nieces that would come out and visit from time to time, so they had things for them. All of the toys that are in this room actually belong to Marcia and her brother and sister. So a lot of these date back to the 1870s and 1880s. They were obviously very gentle with their toys, and it's pretty unusual to find them still around like this.
A pair of shoes right there. Got a couple pairs of those on the bed with some outfits. These almost look like Indian moccasins.
Yeah.
Kinda. I'm touching things which I shouldn't be, I'm sorry. But anyway, I just trying to give you an idea of what they all look like
Yeah.
and things.
You're with the curator, you're good. My favorite toy is actually this one. It's called 4 Weeks Allowed Book. And anyone who just looked at it would think they were going to open it up and read a story, but it's actually a cap gun. You would load it with a cap, and so whoever would open the book would have it explode,
Snap.
which is why it's called a loud book.
That is cool. I don't know how that's, let me look at it real quick. I just want to see. Looks like you just tear a cap off and put it down inside it. Down here's the hammer of that thing. That is really neat.
That's my favorite.
I like that. But anyway, as you look around, we can see little dolls on the beds. Oh, those look like they're 1800s.
Yeah.
The little hats, dress hats around. Again, they have oil lamps. Here's some more calendars. This one here is 1898 right here. And that is a cool picture on that one right there. It's almost like 3D.
Yeah, that one's a very elaborate calendar.
If you were here and you could look at it on the tour, it looks almost 3D actually. And this one right here is the Sauer McShane building, which is right over here off of Main Street. And this is a 1902 picture also. This is quite the room, dude. And this is the closet right here.
Yeah, that is one very unusual thing about the Thomas house. It was built with closets. Most houses from that period don't have them, but this one did.
Why is that? Why is that curtain rod up there?
They would hang curtains in front of a lot of the doors just to keep cold out. The house was only heated by 3 stoves. So anything they could do to keep cold from going in places, they would do.
Now the stove, you consider 3 stoves, one of them being the kitchen stove.
No, actually there's the stove in the dining room, the stove in the back parlor, and then there's one stove in the master bedroom, and that's it.
And then we're gonna go check that out next.
Yeah, since they never used the house except for in summers and weekends after they moved out, there never was a need to put in a furnace. So they just went with the 3 stoves. That was enough.
And these beds right here, I don't know if I can lay on these beds, but they're kind of small, aren't they?
They are. The beds actually belonged to Marcia and her sister when they were children, so the beds date back to the 1870s.
Wow. And here we got some blocks, an old drumstick right here. And over here it looks like some type of a checker game or...
Checkers or backgammon, I'm not sure which.
But instead of television, that's what the kids did to entertain themselves. You can look around the room and see stuff. There's a little toy on the floor there. That almost looks like a... Oh, that's... Yeah. But anyway, this would be the back bedroom. And now we're going to take you into the master bedroom, which is really, really nice. We're going to show you some old hats, and maybe Ben will be in there with us. We can talk to him too, huh?
Maybe.
We'll see you in the next room. Ben, I want to thank you for letting us tour your house today, and also you, Marcia. As you can see, these are their clothes that they left. Marcia's over there with her white, beautiful dress on. And of course, again, this is their master bedroom. And a lot of the clothes up here are set out for possibly the opera or whatever. And behind Patrick's head up there is the top hats and his dress hats and coats and stuff like that he used to wear. And David was just talking about the stoves in the house, and right next to the bed is one of the wood-burning stoves there. And there's a couple of other pictures around here, and maybe David can tell you a little bit more about the room.
Yeah, master bedroom. It's not as crowded up here as you would see downstairs because this was private space. People didn't come up here when they were visiting the house, so you didn't have to put as much stuff up out here. Again, a lot of the old advertisements and calendars from the Sauer McShane store, those 2 large pictures on that wall are advertisements. This has not been in Marsh's original bed. They had a large grass bed in here, and that was one of the very few pieces of furniture that they took to Denver with them when they moved. And so this was a bed that they brought in later to replace that bed. The blanket chest in front of it was also made by Marsh's father's company in Denver. He made 4 of these, one for his wife and one for each of his children. And this is one of the pieces that the family donated after the Historical Society got the house, so people could see the kind of work that the company did.
When did the Historical Society get the house?
1990.
1990. Wow.
It's very unusual that a middle-class home was saved this way. It's always the upper-class homes that are saved this way, and not usually intact like this. The Molly Brown house in Denver, for example, they only have about half a dozen pieces that actually belong to the Browns.
Wow.
And here, almost everything you look at belonged to the Thomases, so that's very unusual.
Like we showed you, clothes, everything, chairs, you name it, a lot of the stuff belonged to them. I'm looking over here at another fan. I'm wondering if that's an old opera fan.
It's actually a woman golfer.
This is a golfer, actually. There's a lady swinging a golf club, and look at the way she's dressed. She's got the old, that's got to be like early 1900 or something right there. That is unbelievable. These over here are her hat pins and stuff, as you can see. We got her mirrors and brushes, and then over here's a little cabinet, and up on the top, that's another 1998, right? Or what is that, 1898?
1902.
Oh, 1902, I'm sorry, I can't see that far away.
And that is my favorite calendar in the house.
That is really, really neat.
I just love the photo on that.
So today you've seen a lot of things in here. And again, if you've got questions about the Thomas house, please, I'll read you the Patrick's email when we leave the house today, and so you'll have an idea of how to get a hold of him, and if there's something we missed that you'd like to know more about here, maybe we can possibly get a hold of Dave and he can talk to us and explain it to us, and we'll get you an answer. But anyway, is that about it today?
I think that covers it.
All right, thank you very much, David. I appreciate your time again, and it's always nice to have connections. I've known David for quite a few years, and he's on the Historical Society with me, and he is a historian here, and I want to pay homage to Linda Jones, who's been ill, and she hasn't been able to get out in quite a while, but Dave's kind of picked that up and helped us out quite a bit, and so you'll see Linda's name on different things and stuff, but she's healing up, and hopefully she will get better, and we'll be able to go out and do some more tours with her. But I want to thank you so much for your time, and boy, we'd love to have you on a couple more.
I'm sure you will.
We'll decide where we're going to go next. We do want to do the Opera House. We are going to do the Opera House for you. It's just going to take us some time to get the authorization to go in there. But give us a little bit of time and we'll get you in there. But we could either be doing St. James Church, which was built 156 years ago, or maybe the courthouse. We're talking about that too next. So let's bear with me, and we'll get you into another building next week and continue on with our journey. Well, we're finished with the Thomas house. We took you back in history to 1867. I want to again thank David for spending his time with us and showing us some of the intricate things in the house that you normally wouldn't see or ask questions about. Also, I wanted to go over with you again, if you have any questions or you would like us to tour, possibly go into another building, you can email Patrick, what is your email?
pduffy@cityofcentral.co.
So please, you can email him, ask questions. There might be things that we've passed up during our tours that you might know a little bit more about. So go ahead and let us know, and we'll go back and get you answers from David and try to get everything taken care of for you. Again, remember, the Thomas House is open year-round for tours. You can go into the Washington Hall. They have the docents in there that will take you out and tour the Teller House, the Opera House, the Thomas House, just places like that. So if you want a first-hand look, please come up here. And again, that's run by the Historical Society up here. And everybody works hard to try to make sure things come to you like that. We also have, in October, we have the creepy crawls. Don't get that confused with the cemetery crawl. Cemetery crawl is in August. We do the creepy crawl in October, and we'll take you around to some of these buildings that are either empty or maybe somebody's moved a merchant in there or something like that, but we can tell you the stories of what happened there. And some of these stories are all out of the archives. They may be twisted a little bit, but they're out of the archives and you get an idea of what happened up here. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for being with us today, and we'll see you next week at our next stop. Thank you.